Hey friend, it's Stacy, saying hello with a Summer of Sabbath replay. You're listening to episode 19, Burning and Turning, Sabbath Noticing. Hi, I'm Stacy Holmes, and this is Glordinary, a few moments where we celebrate God's glory and champion the ordinary. I'm glad you're here. Do you have a dog who sheds? If you do, God bless you, friend. We do not. Ours is one where you gotta pay someone to keep them looking fresh and fabulous. It's a blessing to our allergies and a curse to the old wallet. Ouch. Well, recently on one of my morning walks with our favorite little buddy Rolo, my youngest daughter was with me. Now, my daughter is a noticer, as in she has this innate ability to see what other people can't or don't. She always has. On this particular morning walk, out of nowhere, she says, "Mom, don't you love the way Rolo's shadow looks on the sidewalk when his fur is at this stage?" Sure? Now look, I have never even noticed Rolo's shadow, let alone his shadow at varying stages of fur growth. I'm usually listening to her chatter away with this quiet inner dialogue always running through my brain. Did I swap that load of laundry? Wait, was I supposed to call the dentist back? Oh, I gotta pick up those books on hold at the library. You know, the mom brain, dad brain, adult brain type of stuff. So, no, baby girl, I haven't ever noticed the way Rolo's shadow looks on the sidewalk at this stage of his fur growth. Yet, on this walk, I sense the Lord's whispers and nudge through my daughter's words. Why not, Stace? Why don't you notice? It wasn't an accusation, it was just a question. And it reminds me of Moses in Exodus 3. By now, we've settled into a nice rhythm here on our Summer of Sabbath series as we embrace a Sabbath stopping, resting, delighting, and worshiping for our souls. In episode 18, we saw God reintroduce the Sabbath after Moses leads the Israelites across the Red Sea on dry ground. But now, well, I'm gonna Star Wars prequel you for a minute with the backstory of Moses, because, well, Moses, he had an opportunity to notice Rolo's shadow on the sidewalk too. Kinda, sort of. I mean, if Rolo had been there. By the time Moses is on the scene, the Israelites in Egypt have grown from 70 males during Jacob's time to about 600,000 in the span of 4 centuries. Out of fear, Pharaoh forces the Israelites into slavery, and we see Moses introduced as the baby boy saved from the river by Pharaoh's daughter. Remember this? He's raised as an Egyptian, but he sticks up for his original Israelite family, kills an Egyptian slave master, and then flees in terror to Midian. 40 years later, we pick up our story in Exodus 3. And it goes like this. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. Did you notice a couple things here? For one, Moses is just living his regular life. Well, his regular life now. Remember, he was raised in Pharaoh's court, complete with all the royal trappings and educational pedigree for the first 40 years of his life, to now find himself as a shepherd in the desert at the mountain of Horeb, which coincidentally means desolation. He's in a desert of desolation for 40 years, surrounded by his woolly coworkers. Life probably worked out a little bit differently in his head, right? Yet that's the reality for Moses. Cue Rolo's shadow, or your Bible might say burning bush. You see, it wasn't necessarily uncommon for a plant in the desert to spontaneously burst into flames. It was so dry, a bush could easily turn powder keg and flame out almost as quickly. But this bush would not stop burning or burn up entirely. It wouldn't wither, curl, or ash over, huh? And Moses says, I will now turn aside and see. Moses physically turned aside. He stopped and turned. He pivoted. He altered course. He changed his current direction. He left his day in, day out routines, his jobs, if you will, to turn aside. What's more is the original language says he turned aside to see. And this word see in Hebrew means to consider, be near, experience, to be present. Moses turned aside. He altered his day to experience and be present to that great sight. He stops and notices. What Moses didn't know is that as he turned aside to see, to be present, he came near to the ever-present God. Dr. Matthew Sleeth writes in his book, Reforesting Faith, if we want to hear from God, we need to pay attention to miracles God places in front of us. Sabbath helps us pay attention. Sabbath is our way to turn aside and see, to notice, to be present. It catches my notice that God did not speak to Moses until he turned aside, until he noticed the burning bush. Sabbath attunes our eyes and ears to notice, at least for one day a week. Now look, we can chat about if Sabbath is a literal 24-hour period, a 7-day week, a 10-day week, a Sunday, a Saturday, sun up or sundown. We could do this, and we could likely miss the whole point. For Sabbath is really about one thing. Pencils down. Stop working presently and start noticing our ever-present God. A Sabbath rest forms in me the ability to notice. I haven't always been a noticer, but Sabbath grabs me out of the zone of school, screens, and schedules. And here's what I notice on a Sabbath. I notice the squirrels living in my front yard trees. I suspect the squirrels play tag the other 6 days of the week also, but on the Sabbath, I notice. I pause long enough to watch their little furry tails scurry in circles up my trees, or their trees, I suppose. I celebrate their playfulness. I notice how amazing the bread smells baking in my oven. Gloria a Dios. I notice my daughter's piano playing is really starting to develop, sounding more beautiful than ever. What a gift to hear those sweet melodies. I notice my other daughter's cartwheels and back walkover, so flawless and flexible. When did that happen? What a joy to watch youthfulness in action. I notice that John's beard is graying more, and I'm grateful to be growing old together. On Sabbath, I stop and notice. I turn aside, I pivot, I change course, to see, to be present, to notice, until I begin to notice a change in the remaining days too. Because as theologian Walter Brueggemann says, people who keep Sabbath live all 7 days differently. Sabbath invites us to stop and notice, to stop working presently, to notice our ever-present God, even and especially in the dog's shadow on the sidewalk. Oh friend, let's try something new. Let's notice them together. Remember, you're not alone in this. I'm praying for you, friend. Have a glordinary day.